Hey everyone, Matt Gunn here, rcgroups.com. Thanks for tuning into this video review. And sitting in front of you is a rig that really needs no introduction. This is the DJI Inspire 1 Pro. But this rig did not start off its life as an Inspire 1 Pro. This is an original Gen 1 Inspire 1, and you can tell by the carbon weave here on the arms. This is the first model that came out with the X3 gimbal, and I've updated it to the X5 for this review for the sole purpose of showing you guys how much better of a rig the Inspire 1 is when you upgrade it to the X5 gimbal here. Now there's a little bit that needs to be done with firmware update. You have to change the Gimble Mount and things like that. So what we're going to do in this review is we'll take it up. I'll show you some still images and some still video and stuff like that, or excuse me, some video from this gimbal. Just give you an overview of how this rig is transformed when going from the X3 to the X5, and just give you, some flight times and things like that. What you can expect if you decide you want to make the change to an Inspire 1 Pro if you're running a earlier Inspire 1 without the X5 gimbal. So let's go ahead and take a look at the gimbal, everything that comes with it and what it takes to update it. All right, so if you purchase the gimbal outright, it comes in this neat case right here. It's an injection molded hard plastic case. Inside, the gimbal is securely fitted in there, and it's actually quite difficult if you don't remember how to put this back in, and you have to sort of play with it, and then finally, okay, it goes over here with the motor facing down. This piece goes over here, although you can rotate it to either side. But this is a great case if you're carrying it separately. It does not fit inside of the Inspire carrying case on the Gen 1. Not sure about the Pro how it ships, but even my aftermarket case didn't fit this one, so this thing gets put away to the side because I don't want to carry two. Here we go. 4/3 crop sensor, interchangeable lenses. This thing is beautiful, and it weighs in a little bit too, much heavier than the X3, and rightly so. It's got a lot more metal on it, a lot more glass inside. Let's go ahead and take a look here. There's your lens, and just looking it over, it balances well. There you go, perfectly balanced. Moves around a little bit like that. So right here on top, there is a cover for your USB and your SD card. Take standard micro SD cards. On the other side here, you have an autofocus and manual focus switch. This button is what you push to remove the lens, and you have a lens locking mechanism right here to prevent the lens from coming loose in flight, although even with it unlocked, it's not going anywhere. So you press that button, turn the lens like so, comes right off. There's your sensor in there, here's your lens. Let's go ahead and put that back on. You line up, just like any digital SLR or SLR with a removable lens, you line up that red dot with the red dot right here and spin. There we go. Now on the front here you have a sort of sun hood, I guess you could call it that comes off. You also have this ring that screws in, and this ring balances the camera if you're not using a filter. So if you're not going to run a filter, you need to run this ring. There's nothing in it, so it just helps to balance the camera perfectly underneath. Put this back on, and there you have it. So out the box right now, I think the X5 gimbal is running just about $1,800. The price keeps going down on them slowly, so it's becoming more and more a reality. Now this is not the X5R version, which allows for raw encoding, and it actually comes right here. It has a huge solid state drive built into the top of it that you can run 500 plus gig solid state drive and really take advantage of. I think it's about 1.6 gigs a second of data, and it's just an incredible camera at a price too. So where this one's about $1,800, I think the X5R is well over $2,000, and rightly so. So we're going to be testing obviously the X5 gimbal, not the raw version, and we're going to go out and do some tests with it, but I want to show you how it mounts to the Inspire. Let's check that out. Here's the gimbal mount that goes on the bottom here. It is free floating with these 4 ball dampers. This is a separate piece, does not come with the gimbal, so you have to purchase separately. For comparison purposes, here's the old one off the X3, much smaller little unit. Then you have this monster that fits on here and suspends the weight of the camera pretty well. I think this is around $100, and it is required if you're going to be putting it on here. And it's easy to take this one off. Just a couple of bolts here takes it off the front. You pop the dampers off, then you put the bottom piece on, and then this rear piece, and then the front mount, and then this is the actual suspended gimbal in there. Also comes with these feet here. We call them high heels, and for obvious reasons, because your gimbal is hanging down much lower than before, and without these high heels on here, it will definitely drag on the ground. So there's a 3M adhesive tape that goes inside of there. So how to mount it up is pretty easy. You have this little, see if I can show you here, you have this little tab right here on the back. That goes right there. So what you do is, I'm going to turn this sideways so you guys can see. There we go. Mounts in like so. You push it right in the back, then you push forward, and just like the old Inspire X3, turn that knob, voila, you're done. Perfect balance. Let's back it up a little bit. There we go. All right, for comparison purposes, there's the X5 gimbal here. Here's the X3 gimbal that I took off. And both use CMOS sensors. You have 12.4 effective megapixels on the X3, 16 megapixels on the X5. And your ISO range is 100 to 3200, whereas the ISO range is 100 to 25,600 over here. So your standard focus is 20 millimeters on your X3, and then with the default DJI lens, I forgot to say this is DJI's kit lens that is included. It is a 15 millimeter prime at 1.7 f-stop. The other one's 2.8, by the way. And you have a 94-degree field of view, so you have a nice fisheye look on the X3, whereas the X5 has a 72-degree field of view with the default DJI lens. So as I stated earlier, you do have to update the firmware to run the X5 gimbal on an Inspire 1 in order to make it an Inspire 1 Pro. So that does require downloading the firmware as an Inspire 1 Pro, and you do that by navigating to the DJI.com product page for the Inspire 1 Pro, and then scrolling down to downloads right here. Once you've done that, here we are. You can download the latest firmware right here as a zip file. And once you've downloaded that zip file to a card here and unzipped it, you can put it right into your SD card slot on the X5 gimbal, like so. Let's see, wrong way. I always do that, put it in backwards. There we are. push down to seat it. Close that up. Then you're going to install the gimbal on your Inspire 1. And then once you turn everything on, the firmware will update and hopefully your gimbal will work. Mine worked for me. I've read a few cases where it does take a few cycles to get it to communicate, but everything was flawless. It worked fine right off the bat. That's all it takes to update the firmware to turn your Inspire 1 into an Inspire 1 Pro and run the X5 gimbal. All right, we're out here in an open field to do some tests. It is very hot, but this is a pretty private place. You know, there's not a whole lot of people around, so we won't have anybody coming up asking me how high it goes, how far it goes, how much it costs. You know, that standard procedure we're all used to. But it's sweltering out here, probably like 90 degrees, and I just hiked in here for about 15 minutes to get to this spot. So what I'm going to do is just do some flying around and show you the quality of the X5 gimbal on here, and let's go ahead and do it. All right, there you have it, a little bit of flight footage from the Inspire 1 Pro. Right out of the X5 camera gimbal here. It's raw. I didn't do any post-processing or any stuff like that. A few things to take away is that your flight time is reduced a little bit when you put this gimbal on if you come from the X3. But it's really not a big deal. I guess your flight times vary under many different circumstances, such as outside air temperature, wind, if you're just hovering or moving around, types of batteries, things like that. So with the 5700 pack on here, I'm getting about 18 minutes, I'd say. With this 4500 smaller pack here, I don't know, 14, 15 minutes, around in there. So with the X3 gimbal and this 5700, I was getting close to 22 minutes, give or take. Obviously it varied depending on what I was doing, but that was sort of a middle ground, if you will. So the lack of flight time doesn't bother me too much. I can still get up, get the shoot I need, and land. I will be investing in another battery pack though, just to take advantage of the extra few minutes I might be missing if I need to you know, do another flight or something like that. Other than that, it's a really strong performer. I like the fact that you can change the lens on it if you want to. You can put a number of 4/3 SLR lenses on here. And one thing that I found interesting is that once you upgrade your firmware from the Inspire 1 to the Inspire 1 Pro to run the X5 gimbal, I could not put my X3 gimbal back on and shoot video. As soon as I pressed the button, it would freeze and shut off. And that was, I tried my iPhone and my Android, and it both did the same thing. So I was not able to shoot comparative video, setting up like a waypoint, running the exact same track, one with the X5, one with the X3, but I did do some photo comparisons, and you can see that in the review. So check out the full written review on rcgroups.com, and you'll see a lot of the photos that I've taken, some still images in the air. I did some panoramas and things like that. But as always, thanks for tuning in to this review on RC Groups, and happy flying, and we'll see you next time.